Hey guys, Level Cap here. Today I want to talk about the future of PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds and sort of the future of the Battle Royale genre. This has quickly turned into the most popular genre of video game in the world. It's taking the multiplayer gaming market by storm, and the competition this year especially is going to absolutely go crazy. Will PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds be able to keep up with the insanely high quality production that's going to be coming out this year, or is it going to get beat out by its competition and lose a huge portion of its player base? If we take a look at the previously most popular Battle Royale game before PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds came out, H1Z1, which Brendan Green also had a hand in designing, you can see that the player base drop off directly correlates with the rise of PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. The two shooters were competing for the exact same market, and most players decided that one of them was significantly better. Still though, how could a game like PUBG with 3.2 million concurrent players as a record on Steam possibly be dethroned by some new games coming out this year? It doesn't really make sense. It's established itself too well in the gaming community. The problem, of course, is that PUBG is really kind of one of the best worst games ever made. Launching as an early access title, it was riddled with bugs, performance issues, massive netcode problems, game balance issues, everything you could think of that would be an issue in a video game. It was pretty much a problem with PUBG. And of course, none of that really mattered because PUBG was offering an experience that no other game really came close to at the time. It was offering an adventure, a potentially 30-minute long adventure that you could have on your own or with friends that no other game was replicating at the time. So of course players were willing to put up with the bugs and the problems and the issues. That's usually how most games go. If you want to have a good time in a game like Arma, usually you got to go and install all these crazy mods and do all this extra work to get there, but so many players are willing to do that and go the extra mile to have a good time, as they are with PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. PUBG also launched as a much less ambitious project because they just had no idea. There was no way to know how insanely popular this game was going to become. So over the last year, the PUBG Corp has been hard at work trying to grow their team and bring on added talent to really take this game to a AAA level, something that I don't feel like it has even come close to realizing yet. The graphics are still quite lackluster. The art department is still getting up to speed, and with the recent addition of the weapon camos, I think it's pretty clear that they're not operating at a level of where a AAA game studio would be operating at. They're not producing really high quality graphics content. It still very much feels like an indie shooter. Drawing parallels between PUBG and Fortnite, it's very clear to see what a AAA game developer can do compared to a studio that's really sort of still getting their bearings and figuring out how fast they can produce high quality content. With Fortnite optimizing the heck out of their game and netcode at a much faster and better pace than PUBG, and adding really high quality cosmetic content to the game, they've really just sort of left PUBG in the dust, not to mention adding all kinds of fun new gimmicky game modes that they can add at will for short periods of time. PUBG has still been struggling in that department as well to try and mix up or keep their game a bit more interesting. They really just have the core experience, and they haven't been able to sort of modify or improve much beyond that other than a few optimization tweaks along the way. And don't get me wrong, it's come a long way since the early alpha days or the early access days of this game, but the progress has been very slow. Fortunately though for PUBG, Fortnite is not necessarily a direct competition to the game. Even though both games are battle royales with so many similarities in the way they play out, Fortnite is a cartoony third-person shooter with quirky building mechanics and stuff like that. For those players who really just want to focus on the shooting mechanics in a more realistic environment, PUBG is always going to be the more appealing game. And those stylistic preferences really allow certain shooters to stand alone, as it's shown in the past with games like Team Fortress 2, and then people playing highly realistic games like Arma. Those games kind of are unchallenged, and they represent a very specific type of player that wants a very specific type of experience. And I feel like Fortnite and PUBG are still different enough stylistically that it's going to appeal to different players. However, PUBG is about to get a huge amount of competition this year, and based on the studio's ability to sort of refine and properly implement new features to their game, I have a feeling they're going to get beat out by some of the competition that is looking very strong. One game that has really gone under the media's radar, and sort of by intention because they haven't released any real gameplay footage or any major trailer stuff of it yet, just sort of teaser imagery, is Mavericks. Mavericks is going to offer a similarly sized map with much higher fidelity, much better visual quality, and with 400 players and improved netcode and full environmental destruction. Basically, they're taking all the amazing features from your favorite shooters, putting them into one game, and also offering 400 player limit for the squad-based gameplay. Now, honestly, this does sound too good to be true. How could they possibly implement all of these features into one game when PUBG is struggling to maintain a decent frame rate with very minimal features in a world of this size? Well, they're using a new technology that a bunch of games in 2018 are adopting, which allows them to push the server load onto multiple different servers for one game environment. So, for example, one server might be handling bullet physics and player locations, while another server is dealing with some other sort of dynamic calculation on the server world. So they can break up the load between multiple computers, and apparently it yields amazing results with better, more responsive netcode and better frame rates with higher fidelity visuals. It sounds like the ultimate technology that can really make the dream game that people are waiting for. I think Star Citizen is sort of using a similar approach to many of the things that they're doing, and it'll probably be the way of future game development for some of these highly ambitious games. Obviously, the proof is in the pudding. We're going to have to see the game and try it out for ourselves. But if they can do even half of the stuff they claim they can do, then it will clearly be a game just superior to PUBG. And Mavericks is just one of the many games coming out in 2018 or 2019 release. Amazon is also working on a massive battle royale game, which we don't know much about yet. But we can imagine if Amazon is putting a huge amount of money behind some game development, it's probably going to be pretty exciting. Then we also have Call of Duty and even Battlefield alluding to Battle Royale modes coming in their future games. CSGO has also had rumors of integrating Battle Royale. We've got Dying Light, the Darwin Project, Paladins, the free-to-play game, has also added a Battle Royale mode. Hunt Showdown is a really interesting take on Battle Royale that I think has a lot of potential once they iron out all the performance issues with the game. There's just so much stuff in the works right now that could potentially dethrone this game, and we've seen it with H1Z1. I don't really see any reason why a game the size of PUBG can't lose out in the same way that H1Z1 did to a superior game coming out and taking its core audience. This has quickly become the most competitive market in the gaming world, and it's going to get a lot more competitive. And based on what I've seen with the progress of PUBG and the fidelity of their game, the netcode, the graphics, the overall game design, and sort of failing to understand what players want from the game, I feel it's really going to lose out to the competition that does get it. And I'm having a hard time envisioning PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds standing up to some of the competition that is right around the corner. It just still feels way too indie. There's too many problems with the netcode. The Miramar map, I feel, was like a massive disaster for the actual gameplay of PUBG. Most of the hardcore players seem to want to go back and just play Erangel nonstop. We'll see how this new jungle map plays out, but I don't have huge hopes for it ultimately changing the dynamic or the enjoyment of PUBG. Some of the things that this game does wrong, I feel, are too integrated right now, and it's just going to be too hard to get away from some of the bad game design or bad practices that have been employed and adopted by the community. Again, it's a massively successful game right now, and I'm not knocking that or denying that. I'm just saying even the biggest games on the market can come toppling down as soon as something better comes along. And I'm excited to really see what some of the competition brings this year, as I do love the Battle Royale format. I think it's a great format. It's just one that has not yet been explored to its fullest, and there's so much more we can do with this format and improve upon it and make better gameplay that people enjoy more. And I think we're going to get some phenomenal titles this year. Anyway, what do you guys think? Do you think my prediction of the market is accurate? Do you think PUBG is going to lose out heavily to some of the competing titles this year? Or do you think it is just too freaking big to be taken down by some new titles. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap, signing off.